the governor and the mayor are very upset because they believe that as soon as Donald Trump started getting involved and forcing the National Guard and federal troops to come in, that actually incited the riot. This became about him then.
Donald Trump is deploying an additional 2,000 National Guard and 700 Marines in Los Angeles in an attempt to quell the protests against the immigration raids. We're on day 4 now of this incident. Protests began on Friday night when Immigration and Customs Enforcement, those are ICE agents, arrested at least 44 people for immigration violations. Well, the demonstrations, particularly yesterday, turned violent in places. Electric vehicles set alight, and then police were firing rubber bullets at protesters. Well, it's given President Trump an opening to make good on his promise to crack down on lawlessness by deploying the National Guard, an action which was sharply criticised by LA Mayor Karen Bass in a press conference earlier.
We didn't need the National Guard. Why on earth? What are they going to do? Do you know what the National Guard is doing now? They are guarding 2 buildings. They're guarding the federal building here in downtown, and they're guarding the federal building in Westwood. That's what they're doing. So they need Marines on top of it? I don't understand that. That's why I feel like we are part of an experiment that we did not ask to be a part of.
It's also a move which has led the California governor, Gavin Newsom, to say he's suing the Trump administration. Well, the US president has said he'd arrest the governor of California.
Donald Trump needs to pull back. He needs to stand down. Donald Trump is inflaming these conditions. This is Donald Trump's problem right now, and if he can't solve it, we will.
That's Gavin Newsom, right. To find out what's happening, Conan Nolan is chief political reporter at NBC Los Angeles, who joins us now. Conan, good evening to you.
Good evening.
Just tell us what's happening on the streets right now.
Well, there continue to be protests. It's not nearly as bad as it was yesterday, but as the night grows longer, the odds of there being more violence escalates. The Los Angeles Police Department has received aid from other police agencies, the LA County Sheriff's Department, other municipalities in the region, the California Highway Patrol, and so it is. And it's not widespread unrest, unlike the Rodney King riots from years ago, from the George Floyd riots 4 years ago. This is isolated to one part of the civic center of downtown Los Angeles, which is very large, but it's pretty much around the federal buildings where these undocumented immigrants have been taken. So it's not affecting most of the city, not by a long shot, but it is getting a lot of attention, and it still continues to be a problem for police.
And when you get sort of vehicles on fire, you get photographs like on the front page of the Times this morning that sort of paint a picture of real fury. Tell us about how the US president has decided to intervene to try and stop this. Is it being viewed as disproportionate?
Well, it's irregular under the U.S. the federal Constitution, the United States. The president does not control local law enforcement, and the only time when soldiers with helmets and guns are allowed to patrol a municipal street, a city street, or any kind of municipality, is when they've been asked to by the governor of the state. The governor has control of what's called the National Guard, which is a wing of the military. And the National Guard is used for all sorts of emergencies. But if law enforcement truly needs them as a secondary force to help back them up, they can call on the governor to do this. In this case, the governor didn't want to call out the National Guard, did not believe they needed to be called out, and thought, in fact, they would incite a riot if they did. And that's the other thing. You sometimes you don't want to put those kind of forces in the street. And Donald Trump went over his head and said, I'm going to federalize the state military. Now, the last time that was done was 65 years ago, when I think it was John F. Kennedy was trying to enforce the desegregation of schools in the South, and the southern state, the Mississippi governor and the local officials were not going to protect the black students who were going into these desegregated schools. So he sent in the military without their permission. That's the last time that's happened. It's rarely ever occurs. And so the governor and the mayor are very upset because they believe that as soon as Donald Trump started getting involved and forcing the National Guard and federal troops to come in, that actually incited the riot. This became about him then,
Yeah, and
and
that's
not
what made
about
it, well, really
right.
accelerated it. I mean, Gavin Newsom, the California governor, said Trump was acting like a dictator. This is a line we cannot cross, an unmistakable step towards authoritarianism. Explain to us this now row between Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump is saying he'd like Gavin Newsom arrested.
Right. Well, the federal law supersedes state law, but under the federal constitution, the founders of the republic, they were concerned about the leader of the army, which is the commander in chief, having the ability to use the army in the interior of the United States against American citizens. So under the Constitution, the army is only used to defend the country. That enforcing the laws requires civilian police departments, and that's it. Only in exigent circumstances will you ever bring in a military force. And even then, it's only at the acquiescence of local agencies. And so that's foremost why the president, I should say the governor, believes the president overstepped his authority, which is why they're suing. Now, there's no love lost between the very liberal state of California that does not like Donald Trump and has never voted for him, and President Trump, and he has decided to test out his effort at arresting undocumented immigrants in this state. And it's not a surprise. He dislikes California. He's talked about defunding it, taking not allowing money to be federal revenue sharing to the state. And yes, he's talked about, if Gavin Newsom gets in the way of federal immigration officers somehow, some way in violation of federal law, we will arrest him and we'll arrest the mayor. That's never happened in the history of the country, but that gives you an idea as to how, absurdly insane the politics is around this.
It absolutely is. Thank you so much for explaining some of the details to us live from LA. Conan Nolan, the chief political reporter at NBC Los Angeles.